The AR-15. Some people think it looks kind of scary. Some people think it's kind of complicated. It's actually not. It's actually a piece of brilliant engineering. And we're going to dive into what makes an AR-15 work. Coming up next. Hey everybody, Mike here from CMMG and welcome back. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what makes an AR-15 work. We've got a lot of questions from you guys in our Q&As wanting to know a little bit more about the AR-15 because there are a lot of new first-time AR-15 owners out there. So we're going to dig into the basic operation of an AR-15 today. So first off, let me apologize. As you can tell, this is not exactly an AR-15. This is a Mark 47, but it has a lot of similar characteristics to an AR-15, and so this is going to have to be a good stand-in for an AR-15 because I don't have a traditional 5.56 AR-15 up here with me at the moment. So this is what's going to work for now. So bear with me. We are going to get through this, and there are going to probably be a few cuts where you're going to all of a sudden see things like it separated, or you're going to see the handguard removed or something for me to be able to show you a little bit more details to what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into a lot of the processes of how to take things apart, just for the fact that the YouTube algorithms and monitors, I guess we could say, tend to watch a lot of these videos and they want to know, are we teaching you how to build something? I have to steer away from that, so I'm not going to get into that too much. We're just going to try to get into the operation. So let's just dive right in. So the AR-15, or in this case, Mark 47, is a very simple but brilliant operating system. One of the things that I truly love about the AR-15 is how everything is in line with each other. If you actually look at the AR-15 or the Mark 47 that I've got sitting here, one of the really cool things about it is you actually have muzzle, barrel, bolt, buffer system. All one continuous line. Well, the beauty of that is if you think back to rudimentary physics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if the projectile is wanting to go that way, the force projecting it that way wants to go that way. Well, if you keep everything in a nice straight line, it means that initially it's going to be a lot more manageable. Couple that with a lot of features you can add to an AR-15 like muzzle brakes and compensators and things like that, and you can mitigate that even more. But right out of the box, you're going to have a really tame platform for novice shooters all the way up to completely experienced and competition shooters. What we've got here, in this case, this is an AR pistol. So this has one of our rip braces or a pistol stabilizing brace on it. It is attached to a receiver extension or a buffer tube. Inside there is a buffer and spring. I'll take this apart here in just a little bit. In front of that, we have the lower receiver assembly. With the lower receiver assembly, this is where your serial number is put onto the gun. So that's actually the actual firearm per the ATF standards. This piece of metal right here is the firearm. It holds the fire control group. It has the serial number on it. Above it, this piece up here is the upper receiver assembly. Inside of it is the bolt carrier group. I'll break that out here in just a minute. Off the front of the upper receiver, you're going to have the barrel nut, handguard, and any other accessories on that barrel, depending on if it's a direct impingement system, a piston system, or if it even needs a gas system. Below all of this, you're going to have some type of ammunition feeding device. Yes, I just said ammunition feeding device. In this case, a 30-round PMag. So this is going to be able to attach to the lower receiver and feed the ammunition into it. So I'm going to break these apart real quick so you can actually see a little bit more on the separate components. All right, as you can see here, I've got a mess. Actually, it's pretty controlled. I've got the complete lower receiver assembly. I have the upper receiver assembly minus the bolt carrier group. I've taken the handguard off and I've taken the magazine out like I showed you just a while ago. Trying to figure out exactly where I want to start here, so I guess I'm going to start with the lower receiver assembly. So the lower receiver assembly is going to be, again, like I said, this serialized part. So this holds your fire control group. And if you see here, this actually has your hammer, trigger, safety, all that stuff located in the lower receiver here. Now, in the receiver extension and buffer tube, you're actually going to see that you have a buffer tube and spring. I'm going to see if I can't get this out here without it flying across the room. Some of you've probably experienced that. But inside there, we do have a buffer and spring inside the buffer tube. So this is really pretty simple operation. This just goes into the receiver extension like that. Now the whole point of this is to have weight and opposite force to go against the bolt carrier group. So the bolt carrier group, we'll jump to the upper for just a second, is going to be located in the upper receiver. So the bolt carrier group is going to be sitting in here. When these are together, you pull the trigger, the hammer comes up, and it is going to hit the firing pin on the, or inside the bolt carrier group. That's going to ignite the primer, propellant's going to be ignited, and then the bullet's going to start traveling out the front of the gun. As the bullet or projectile starts leaving the barrel, it has a pocket of gas behind it. Well, that gas can get vented straight out the front depending on the type of gun it is, or in the case of an AR-15, some of it is going to get redirected back for the operation. So once we get to here, there is a port in the top of the barrel. It's the gas port. That gas will then come out of the top of the barrel into a gas block, and then it will travel back down the gas tube. When it goes back down the gas tube, it mates up with the gas key on the bolt carrier, and the bolt carrier then gets pushed rearward against, you guessed it, the buffer. So as this reciprocates backwards, it now needs an opposite force to push it back. That's what the buffer is for. So now imagine if this were in the upper receiver and it gets forced backwards. As it gets forced backwards, it now has spring tension and it is going to be forced to come back forward. When it comes back forward, the magazine is typically seated in this orientation here, and there are going to be rounds sitting right here. So as this comes back forward, it is going to pick up the next round as it comes forward and push that round into the chamber. So I apologize, I know it's probably a little bit dark here. I'll see if I can't lighten it up in post, but that then gets pushed into the chamber. Now it is ready to be shot again. Now another thing, I don't know if you just noticed as I was doing all of that, was the bolt carrier group also resets the trigger. So when you initially go and pull the trigger, the hammer is going to come up and it is going to make contact with the firing pin. This is going to be kind of in this orientation here. Well, you'll see the hammer is now inside the bolt carrier group. So once all that action on the upper happens, this is now going to be pushed back, and when it pushes back, I don't know if you just saw that, but it actually pushes the hammer back down where it engages and gets reset. Once everything's back into battery, which is the bolt carrier being completely forward and the round in the chamber, it is now time to pull the trigger again. Pull the trigger once again, hammer falls, all that stuff happens again. It is actually fairly simple. So I'll try to see if I can't point this stuff out on all the separate pieces as I'm working on it here. So everything is all together. Insert magazine with ammunition. I almost forgot about the charging handle. You got to pull the charging handle back the first time. So the very first time you load the gun, you're going to have to be able to pull on the charging handle, which is going to pull the bolt carrier group back against that spring, and then you let go, everything's going to come flying forward. That's going to have fed around off of that magazine into the chamber. So now you have everything pretty much ready to go. You're going to disengage your safety, which this one is not an ambi safety, so it is on this side. You're going to disengage your safety. You're going to pull the trigger. Hammer is going to drop onto the firing pin. Firing pin ignites everything. Bullet goes out. Gases follow. Gases come through the gas port, gas block, gas tube, back to the gas key. Everything then in turn wants to push back. That goes against the buffer. Once it's fully compressed, it pushes it back, does that, does a new round, and we're back to square one. I think one of the things I did fail to mention is as that is cycling, the bolt carrier itself does have an extractor and ejector built into it. So it's actually made to grab the lip on the ammunition and pull it out of the chamber. And then there's a little spring piece here that makes the round or the empty case flip out of the side. So as it is cycling back, it's also ejecting the spent case so that when it comes back forward, it can pick up that fresh case. It is pretty simple operation. This is also what you would call semi-automatic. What semi-automatic refers to is this is going to fire one shot for every action of the trigger. So I pull the trigger, all that stuff happens, projectile goes out, everything here operates, it resets the trigger, it sets back forward. Now, and when it resets the trigger, so I'm going to show you this. So hammer has fell, or hammer is cocked, pull the trigger, fire. Everything goes, comes back, resets it. I have not let my finger off the trigger. I am still holding on to that trigger, so it's not going to fall again. So that means we're not getting more than one round per shot. I have to let go of the trigger ever so lightly. You'll hear that click. That is a reset. With that reset, that now means I can pull the trigger again. So this is one shot per every action of the trigger. So I pull the trigger, shot. Cycles, let go, pull it again. Semi-automatic, one shot per trigger pull. Really super simple operation. As I'm finishing up here, I feel like I didn't cover stuff enough, but then I think I did. So let's keep my fingers crossed and hope that I covered everything. If I didn't cover something here, other than different types of gas systems, other types of gas systems are going to be, instead of a gas block and a gas tube, you could possibly have a piston system, which uses the gas to push on a metal piece to operate the bolt carrier group. And then there's just traditional blowback and our favorite radial delay blowback, which uses no gas to cycle it. It actually just uses the rearward force of the cartridge. Okay, one other thing I'm going to touch on here is going to be the bolt itself. Now, the main operation on the bolt is, as this is actually in the chamber, this pushes forward and you'll see this rotates. When this rotates, these lugs lock into the chamber on the barrel. So that basically means you have a completely closed and locked breech. So everybody, that was a real simple look at an AR-15, or again, in this case, a Mark 47. I know I missed a few things. If you've got the questions, feel free to hit us up in the comments down below. I'll be happy to answer the questions I can. If I can't, I'll get you the direction to be able to answer those questions. And just look forward to future videos about more things like this and more questions you guys have for us. You made it this far. It's time to do what you're supposed to do. Give us a like. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So many of you are not subscribed. Somewhere around the neighborhood of like 76% of you watching these videos are not subscribed to our channels. It would mean a great amount to us if you just hit that red button really quick. Doesn't take any time at all. Doesn't cost you a thing. So, guys, I'm done begging. I'm done talking about the AR-15 operation for now. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. I love doing this. And I'm going to keep doing them as long as you guys keep asking questions. So, guys, as always, stay safe out there.